A huge weekend of rugby league. Round 20's done and dusted. We're on the home run to the finals, but let's go back to Friday night, the big talking point of the weekend, the Nathan Cleary send-off.
Oh my goodness, this is a problem. That's Dylan Brown that was flipped over like an omelette.
Nathan Cleary involved.
Hands in between the legs, dropping him into the ground. You're off.
Gone! Nathan Cleary has been sent from the field. Can you believe it?
A send-off 18 minutes into the game and a 5-week suspension with the early guilty plea. Are you comfortable with that, Panther?
Look, at the time I wasn't. Immediately I thought, no, it wasn't a send-off because I thought he basically had flat back. But then I realised that his arms were between Dylan Brown's legs, and that's just a no-no. I'm comfortable with it now. I think that 5 weeks on the sideline, there's a couple of pros and cons, I suppose, for both having him and Jerome Luai on the sidelines for that amount of time. The pros and cons having both your 6 and 7, who are also the Origin 6 and 7s, out until finals footy will no doubt hurt. You like to enter finals footy with a bit of momentum. Not that they won't, but any team without their 2-star halves will miss them. But I suppose the pros are that conversely they will both be champing at the bit to be eager to get back amongst it, and they'll both be fresh, also giving the team a great little boost around finals time. So, look, Panthers are on 36 points. Cowboys are on 30. They're coming to get them. Will they take over the minor premiership? I don't think so, but they'll make it really exciting towards the end of the season. But yeah, look, we saw a few of them tackles over the weekend, Pagey.
Yeah, unfortunately there were a few crappy tackles, a few lifting tackles. You saw hands between the legs. None of them turned out as badly as Nathan's. He was unlucky there, but we saw a cannonball.
And Nathan has come out on social media and apologised to it. About it, saying that it was a bad technique. He'll take his punishment. And he's owned it. So,
have you heard from him? Because he did. I actually texted you. I said, I'm worried about Nathan's mental health. Like, he looks stressed.
Yeah,
he looks
Devo.
like he's not coping at the moment.
As soon as you text me, I sent a message to him on, and just said, mate, keep your head up. It was an accident. Come back for the finals, and good on him. He replied and said, mate, thanks for the message, and just wanted to let him know that we had his support. I mean, it's not him. A lot of people say it's not his go. When players do things, well, then they say, and other people go, well, he did it, so it is his go. But it's not Nathan Cleary's go to be like that. It's not.
He's not a dirty
player. He'll be 5 weeks on the sideline. He'll be still fit coming back to the finals. He could be just the X factor the Panthers need around finals footy.
Nice. But on the tackles and foul play, a couple of the lifting tackles, a cannonball tackle we saw on the weekend, which I know you hate, MG, and they can't be accidental. The Tigers had a monumental upset over the Broncos, but the Broncos could have a tough run home. They're going to miss one of their star forwards after a hip drop tackle broke Jackson Hastings' leg in that game.
Oh. And that's the big word, broke his leg. That's Pat Carrigan is in some big trouble. The hip drop is something that's... I hate it. I hate the tackle because the player is vulnerable, and he'll have to pay for that, Carrigan, because the fact that Jackson Hastings broke his leg. So a lot of people say sometimes does the penalty fit the crime? Well, this time it will, because unfortunately for the Broncos, their star forward could be out from up to 4 to 6 weeks, I reckon. We saw another one.
Watch.
Yeah, it is. We saw another one on Saturday between the Titans and Raiders. Aaron Booth, the dummy half for the Titans, come in late on Joseph Tarpanay as a cannonball. I mean, come on, boys. You don't attack the legs of somebody who's vulnerable. You know yourself that as a player, you would never want that to happen to you. So don't do it to anyone else. It's a shit tackle. Both of them are. Get them out of the game as soon as possible, because honestly, we've just seen someone break their leg doing it. Isn't that enough evidence to say we can't do it anymore?
But this music means it's time for MG's Power Rankings. Straight after 8 o'clock every morning, a top 5 list about anything, and it's about a massive weekend in the rugby league, MG.
Yeah, usually on Mondays we do the top 5 players, but this week it's just the top 5 moments, because it was it's hard to think of a more drama-packed weekend of footy in a long, long time. I honestly can't remember off the top of my head. I suppose it's actually unprecedented, going back to last Thursday night and the whole week that was the Manly Jersey saga. So let's start with the top 5 moments of round 20.
5.
The Bulldogs, the new entertainers of our competition, unbelievable. Who saw this coming? They've now won 4 of their last 6 games, and with Cameron Serraldo looking like signing there, Billy Kickow, Reid Marnie, you got Matt Burton there. Things are looking bright for the Bulldogs.
This time the kick is on. Addo Carr gets there on the full, picks up shot, almost lost his dax, but he scores the try, and Addo Carr has another another try assist. How good is this footy to watch?
Oh, can I ask a question about that? Why don't they make the drawstrings on the shorts of footy
Yeah, I know.
players? Like, everyone always
Bit tighter.
nearly loses their jacks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they know we all want it.
And they know that there's sponsorship in their undies, so yeah. Number 4 is the West Tigers. Wow, again, who saw this one coming against the Broncos, who were unbelievable. Adam Dewey led the Tigers to a 32-18 upset. Brett Kamali's first win as NRL coach, but we'll hear a lot more about the Pat Carrigan tackle on Jackson Hastings, who has a broken fibula.
The margin is Dewey! Goes over. Tigers, surely you don't lose it from here. 4.5 minutes to go.
That's 2 wins in a row for the Tigers. Well done, fellas.
Watching the Titans and Raiders game, I saw one of them tackles, the cannonball tackle. It was from Aaron Booth from the Titans on Joey Tarpanay, and then they got called out by the ref. I thought, okay, Booth here is going to be put in the bin. It was actually unbelievable that he wasn't. It's one of the worst tackles we can see. They've got to eliminate it. They've got to make examples of people who do it. The fact that he escaped any sort of punishment on field and Tarpanay was the one who got a $1,500 fine beggars belief.
What's on in back play?
Come back. There's a punch on in back play. Let's have a look at that.
Looks like Aaron Booth against Big Tarpany. It's a heavyweight against a featherweight.
It's Booth comes in under the legs, and Tarpany took offence to that. When two guys are getting hurled like that and one guy goes in low woodsy, it's never a good look.
What a game this was. It lived up to the hype. The Sharks and the Rabbitohs. Unbelievable game. Locked at scores in Golden Point. Latrell missed 3 field goals. Nico Hines nailed one. The Rabbitohs lost in Golden Point. Unbelievable game.
Here he comes. Mitchell gets it off. It's no good. For 41, Mitchell strikes that. No, it just fades away. This for the win. Latrell Mitchell, he gets it off. He sprays it again. Cronulla now. Oh, high tackle Burgess. It's a big problem. It's on halfway. Gone, sent off. Tom Burgess straight from the field. Here it comes. Hides for the win. Nico Hides is ice cool.
Yeah, it was a massive moment because that keeps South on 24. The Sharkies go up to 28. If the Rabbitohs would have won that, there would have been a logjam on 26. So the Sharkies in third position on their own on 28 points. They're going fantastically. Well, obviously the moment of the round was Nathan Cleary's send-off after 17 minutes. I just want to clarify too, I think Parramatta were on top, even with Nathan Cleary on the field. Parramatta were leading 12-4 when this happened, and I thought they started beautifully, Parramatta, and they were always going to. Panthers started a little bit lackadaisy, a couple of Reed Marnie darts out of dummy half, but this was the moment of round 20 that most people were talking about over the weekend.
Oh my goodness, this is a problem. That's Dylan Brown that was flipped over like an omelette.
Nathan Cleary involved.
Hands in between the legs, dropping him into the ground. You're off.
Gone! Nathan Cleary has been sent from the field. Can you believe it?
5 weeks on the sideline. MG will see Nathan come back week 1 for the finals. So, look, I suppose there's good and bad in that. At least him and Jerome Luai will both be fresh for the finals.
Yeah. Again, there's pros and cons. You want to be, charging into the finals with momentum. Maybe Penrith will be. Without the 2 best players, but the 2 Origin halves, it's going to be hard for them. But they've got to find something else.
Does it make the other players step up as well? Because maybe sometimes those better players are people's comfort zones. Is that a positive as well? You harden up the others?
Of course, Jesse May, and you saw that in the second half. I think Parramatta put the cue in the rack on Friday night. They knew they had the win. But even the second half, I think Penrith won 6-4 with 12 men. So, look, there's hope there. I imagine O'Sullivan will halfback, and they'll put Jaden Salmon at 5'8". So, yeah, of course they lose something when you lose your Origin players. But, yeah, every other player's got to lift now and get Penrith the minor premiership.
Just 5 more rounds until we get into the finals of the NRL, but it was round 20 on the weekend, and MG's Golden Points happens here every Monday morning. Let's kick it off, Wild Panther, with your most impressive team of the round.
Well, after last weekend's disappointment against the Cowboys, we were watching with bated breath to see how the Tigers would bounce back, and bounce back they did in a big way. So the Tigers, for mine, were the team of the round. They were fantastic against the Broncos. A big upset. Well done.
Most disappointing team of the round.
Oh, look, I've got to say the Newcastle Knights. For mine, they just lacking that heartbeat that every rugby league teams need. They had enough ball yesterday in that second half to win 3 games, but their attack was inept, was poor. You've got to think that they've got a game against the Titans in a couple of weeks. If they lose that, the drums are going to start beating a lot louder for Adam O'Brien's head.
Okay, most surprising team of round 20.
The Bulldogs. The Bulldogs have been fantastic. 4 from their last 6 they've won. Under Mick Potter, they've been unbelievable. Look, with Serrato, by all accounts, all but signing there next year, Reid Marnie, Billy Kickow, heading there with Matt Burton, things are starting to look really bright for the Bulldogs. So they were my most surprising team in the round.
Okay, we've got your biggest issue of the round here. The Rugby League gods have been very kind. You've got plenty to choose from this week.
Yeah, let's see. Pretty quiet week, to be honest. But look, the send-off was massive, but I think these illegal tackles that we've got to stamp out of the game. We saw, especially the Tigers v Broncos, Carrigan with a hip drop, which, if people don't know what a hip drop is, it's when two people have got someone by the torso, and the third player comes in from behind and basically pulls him from the backwards down, and his legs go from under him. It's so dangerous, so dangerous. And we saw a bloke break his leg. So I think, unfortunately for the Broncos, Pat Carrigan might be made an example of, and also the cannonball that Aaron Booth did to Joseph Tarpanay. When you're there with the legs vulnerable, you just don't go in and attack somebody's knees from behind. It's so dangerous, so dangerous.
Do you think that it's the pressure of the game that, because you see Carrigan after that tackle and he looked like he felt so guilty, you could already tell he put his arm out, but there's so much pressure on these players to perform. And there's so much money riding on the line that sometimes it interrupts logic.
You can wrap up the legs without going in that forcefully.
Yeah,
can't
of course you can. Look, everyone who erred in the weekend, and go back to Nathan Cleary's send-off, he knew he did the wrong thing straight away. He punched his head with his fist and went, what was that about? Like, that's not me. And that's exactly the same with Carrigan. And I suppose once you do something illegal in the game, it's all in the heat of the moment. And most times, 9 times out of 10, it is accidental. But these cannonballs, they've got to be eradicated now. Like, they're shocking.
Okay, before we get to some listener questions, finally, your player of the round, MG.
I can't go past Adam Dewey. Adam Dewey, since he's came back from his injury, his ACL, he's been a shining light for the Tigers. And I hope Isaiah Papali'i honours his deal next year, because if they get Api Coruscant and Isaiah Papali'i, the Tigers, well, all of a sudden, like the Doggies, things are starting... It's so bright, I've got to wear my shades, honestly. It's going to be fantastic for these two clubs.
All right, let's get to the listener questions. James from Castle Hill, and I promise you, this is from James from Castle Hill. Do you think the Eels can make the top 4 now? And that is without Mitchell Moses, of course, for the rest of the regular season.
In other words, Jess from Putney asking me a question. That's good. No. Thanks, Jess.
Do you think the Eels are fantastic and the greatest team that ever lived? From Jess from
Jess.
No.
Cronulla.
I didn't really notice that he had broken his finger in the game, Mitchell Moses, so he soldiered on, and he's a tough little hombre. Mitchell Moses has had the most try assists in the competition, so they're going to miss him profoundly. And if I look quickly at their run home, they play Manly, who are going to be pumped for next week. I mean, after having 7 players on the sideline, them 7 players are going to come back with a vengeance. South Sydney, hard game. The Doggies, well, they're a hard game at the moment. Then they've got the Broncos and the Storm to finish off. They need Mitchell Moses. They won't make the top 4. They won't make the top 4 without Mitchell Moses. No.
Eels fans are tough. That's what I love about him. On our Triple M NRL page, when we announced Mitchell Moses, these are the comments. Just remove the finger unless it's a thumb. Move on.
Well, Angus Crichton did that.
Yeah. Well, that's what he said. They said, and also Ben goes, exactly, where's the commitment? That's why Para haven't won a premiership since the Ray Price days. Just take your finger off, for Christ's sakes.